talking, of course, about the FIFA World Cup matches in Toronto and Vancouver. Oh my God. Where do I begin, Eddie? Where do we begin? First of all,
I don't know.
The ticket prices are crazy.
Yeah.
And a lot of Canadians are just saying, because first of all, we're not getting some of the top-rated teams for these matches.
Not at all.
So, what's the point? But I'll let you finish. I interrupted. I'll let you finish.
You know what, Gary? You know me extremely well. I'm all about supporting sports, global sports spectacles, because it does bring people together. It does bring people of all walks of life together, all political colors together for their countries. And you get that in major events. You get that in World Cup of Soccer, no question about it, like what we're going through right now. You get it through the Olympics. I think it's a wonderful thing to have. The problem with it, it's the amount of money it costs to host these things. Absolutely exorbitant. And then at the end of the day, the people who just adore and love these sports spectacles are priced out of attending. You know, Gary, I know FIFA's gone through 3 or 4 different lotteries to allow people to buy tickets ahead of time. And I was on those lotteries. And I never won any lottery to actually get in to buy advanced tickets. But once I saw the price of the tickets, Gary, forget about it. There's no way on earth I'm going to pay $1,500 to go see the nosebleed section in Toronto. There's no way in hell I'm going to pay $800 to go see the nosebleed. And I'm not taking away from any country's right to be there. And as you mentioned, you know, like there are 2 venues in Canada, being Vancouver and Toronto. Okay, great. Mexico is going to have 3 venues: Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. And the United States are going to be played at 11 venues at really demographically diverse cities like Kansas City and Houston. I mean, that's where we're going to be having soccer, right? World Soccer. And in Canada, we're going to be hosting 5 games in Toronto. And you know what? Canada's going to be playing 1 game in Toronto, which you'd think would be a sellout. The fact of the matter is, Gary, it's not sold out. And we're a couple of weeks away from opening day in Toronto against Bosnia. It's not sold out. You know, and the only 2 other premier teams that Toronto will be hosting to gain some momentum and gain some ticket sales, you have Germany playing Cote d'Ivoire, and you have Panama playing Croatia. Croatia being the heavy hitter, still not sold out. It makes absolutely no sense that these games are not sold out considering the spectacle. And you look at Toronto, one of the most metropolitan cities in all the Americas, not being able to sell out. So what's the reason behind that? Locals don't want to cough up that kind of money, considering what's going on in terms of being able to stretch your dollar as far as you can. FIFA
Which is
kind of easy. Yeah, FIFA doesn't make it easy for people like you and I to attend these games. So it's becoming a sport for the rich. Really it is, which is sad. That's just sad to see. Same thing in Vancouver. Canada's playing in Vancouver for 2 games, once against Qatar, once against Switzerland, which is no slouch. But in terms of absolute powerhouses out there, Belgium? So Canada, what did you say, Gary? We're spending about $1 billion on these games here in Canada to host 5 round 1 games, 1 round 2, and 1 round 3 game in Vancouver. That's it. $1 billion.
Well, the parliamentary budget officer is suggesting, the last report I saw was in around $1 billion for security for these games that we are paying for. And as a matter of fact, there will be fighter jets in the air over the stadiums here in Canada and in the area of the stadiums at all times. And they will be equipped to shoot down any planes that stray, because it's going to be a no-fly zone over those areas. And they will shoot down any planes or drones that are in the air. And they're doing, it's the 8th, so that'd be Monday. Monday, they're going to be doing a dry run over Toronto. 2 fighter jets and a small executive jet that they've hired for the day. And they're going to force that executive jet to land at Billy Bishop Airport. So that's just part of it. And then you've got everything else, like the planning for the public transit. That's a municipality cost. And extra policing costs to the municipality. In addition to that, then you have, your control of traffic in those areas, because it'll be a no-go zone for traffic. And there's a zone around the stadiums as well, and the bars and the restaurants that are in there, they can't use things like World Cup or FIFA anywhere. Sorry, no, that's a no-go, because they're looking for the,
So what you're saying, a big bar can't say, "Hey, come over to Joe Blow's bar and watch the World Cup game." You can't say that.
Exactly.
That's okay.
You can say, "Come over and watch the soccer game."
It makes sense that people would do that.
Yeah, well, you know what? The Olympics the same way. Every summer and winter Olympics, when I was working, and we were a local station in a local market, and you would get a list of do's and don'ts. And if you were selling like you couldn't call it an Olympic update, you couldn't call it different things. It had to be just as generic as anything.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you were actually listening, and you had to even watch how you worded stories. It was just crazy. But the FIFA thing in particular, it's just a huge money-making operation. And we as taxpayers are funding the expenses of FIFA to put on these matches so they can charge their exorbitant prices. And you know what? I'm really happy to see, some people will say, "Oh, well, it's a blight on us because we're going to be classed a failure." No, we're going to be classed as smart. I mean, look at here. $4,000 US in Miami for a game between Colombia and Portugal.
Elizabeth, that's insanity. And I know Elizabeth to be a fervent fan of the Portuguese soccer team. You know what? She'd be the first one there waving their Portuguese flag. $4,000? What the hell? I mean, geez. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, that you can't go. It really sucks.
So, Joe out in BC, in Vancouver, right?
Welcome back, Joe.
Yes, good to see you back. He nails it. He nails it. And look at the money that they've put into upgrading both stadiums for these matches. Again, who's paying for that? Guess who? FIFA doesn't put a cent into it, really. They just roll in, and the guy that heads up FIFA walking into whose Oval Office and presenting some kind of fake
Peace Prize.
Peace Prize, yeah. What the hell does that have to do with soccer?
Right.
Talk about bending down and licking the boots. That was, and just watching the guy, the way he answers questions and different things. Like he's, to me, the type of guy, if you shake his hand, you better count your fingers to make sure you get them all back.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, it's
That's
As,
crazy.
as a sport, look, as a sports fan, Gary, I think both you and I enjoy a great competition. But, you know, looking at the economy and what's going on in the world today at such a time is supposed to bring joy to people, especially those struggling. And you can't even go to the local bar and enjoy the show without wondering, without a bar owner wondering if he's going to lose his shirt on licensing fees and rights and whatever else. And as fans, I'd love to go experience the game. I'd love to go see it. Like, you know what? Maybe you can't get into the stadium. Great. Maybe if they set up television screens outside for like you and I to pay $50 to go watch it. They won't even do that. They do not make it easy for the regular person to go watch these games. Look, the Olympics, they make it reasonable. I've looked at the ticket pricing in a lot of events that happened recently in Europe and where not. You know what? You can get yourself some reasonably priced tickets, but you know, at $1,000 a ticket at nosebleed section, or as Lisa just said, $4,000 a seat in Miami, that's preposterous. Who's going to go? Well, the person that makes $4,000 a day and he can afford it. So the true sports fan is not going to be able to enjoy a particular spectacle, which is really, really, really sad here. And I think you share my sentiment in that too.
Oh, for sure. And I saw a headline or a title, a video. It was a video on YouTube recently,
Hmm.
and it said Montreal made the right decision, and other cities are wishing they had followed suit.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, yeah. It says it all. It says it all, and FIFA controls, as we said, the branding, the revenue, and the host cities. They just walk in and take control. That's
Yeah.
that's
Well, if
crazy.
you well, if you remember, Gary, when Canada was selected for this and had some conversation with you about it, and I think in one show or just before a show, but we never got it on, we talked about. I voiced my displeasure at the fact that Montreal pulled out of the running to run these World Cup games in Canada to be part of that. And I was upset. I looked at it as a bloody nose to Montreal, a bloody nose to Quebec. That we can't afford to do things like this with the rest of the country. That was my initial reaction, right? And then I kind of thought about it and said, we don't have a stadium for it. Yeah, we got the Olympic Stadium, but you can't use it. We don't have a stadium for it. Saputo Stadium is privately owned. You'd have to expand it and pay millions of dollars. And I know that the Saputo family was not going to put their own money into that. It would have to come from the government anyway. And then, as you allude right now, the infrastructure, the security, and whatnot, hindsight 2020, I think Montreal made the right decision, although potentially for the
Absolutely.
wrong reasons because they knew they couldn't host the games because they just didn't have the venues to do it. I mean, which is an embarrassment to begin with. But at the end of the day, this was, I guess, hindsight 2020, a good decision, but not one based on, boy, we're going to lose our shirts on this. And just quickly, Gary, I did a quick check earlier on. So we're saying about $1 billion of public hosting costs for Canada overall, Toronto and Vancouver, plus security costs, right? Now, the estimated source of the money coming into Canada, contributing to the economy, you look at the FIFA study, they figure it's going to drive up to $3.8 billion of economic output for Canada. That's FIFA's numbers. Other tourism and economic projections, they're saying about 2 billion Canadian. You look at BMO economic studies, and they say tourism is going to gain anywhere between $1 and $5 billion, only a modest and short-lived GDP bump. So one of the largest banks in the country gave you a range between a billion and $5 billion. So where the hell is the rest of this money going? Absolutely, like you were saying, Gary, to FIFA and their cronies and the cronies that support FIFA, which is sad. Yes, we need a governing body to manage tournaments like this and the rules of soccer over the course of years and years and years. I know a lot of hard work goes into this. Soccer is a fantastic and beautiful sport, but FIFA's corrupt just like many governments in the world.
Hmm.
And it's the corruption funding this damn corruption. And You know what? All that aside, am I going to watch World Cup games on television along with the millions of other people who can't afford it? Absolutely. Okay. Um, and it is what it is. I think countries are continuously going to be gobbling up their candidacy to host these types of games, Olympics, especially soccer, the FIFA World Cup. And you know what? You're looking at environments like Mexico. Mexico could have hosted the whole thing, to tell you the truth. Quite honestly, they have the stadium capacity to do it. South America, they'll always be in the bid for it, and Europe, they'll always be in the bid for it because that's their primary sports. Countries like
Right.
Canada, where you know what, hockey reigns, no question about it. Um, Major League Soccer is, I'm not going to say it's vibrant across the entire country, but we got three major league franchises here, but nothing to fill up a stadium of 30, 40,000 people with just a sneeze. It's just not Canada. So I think at the end of the day, it's a proud time for Canadians to be Canadians, to root behind the Canadian soccer team, which is improving in their ranking, so it gives us something to cheer about. But hindsight 2020, Gary, I think we should have said, you know what, FIFA, thanks, but no thanks. I think we could have put the money to better use elsewhere. Let the Americans have their glory, and let's just be the end of it. I don't think it was the right decision for Canada at the end of the day myself as well.
Well, with FIFA's control limiting the local economic upside, really, what upside is there for the average economy, local economy, when you've got all of everything else that factors into it? I just
Mhm.
and as you said, by FIFA's numbers, they come in and they roll it out and make it glitzy and glamorous, throw around a whack of figures. And unfortunately, a lot of politicians, they see this, yes, in big crowds, blah, blah. They don't stop to think of the infrastructure that's needed behind to support all of this and who's going to pay for it. And
Mhm.
why aren't we building FIFA for a good chunk of the security service that we're providing in the
Right.
form of military air cover and different things like that? Why, if you and I come up with an idea and we go to the provincial government or the federal government and we say, this, and this, and we anticipate making this much money, and oh, by the way, we keep this, and you just provide the support. There's nothing about you getting anything back. You pay for the
Right.
support, and we'll bring the people into the city. Well, they're not even doing that because the hotel rooms, there are all kinds of empty hotel rooms in Vancouver and Toronto. And
Yeah.
some of the prices for the hotel rooms originally, like, would blow your mind. I just wanted to put my butt down and go to sleep for the night. That's
Yeah.
all I want.
Well, you just triggered a thought. I remember you mentioned hotels. I remember seeing something I think it was Toronto, in fact, that their hotel reservations year over year, this year to last year, in terms of the hotels downtown, is not much more this year than last year.
Yeah.
So what are we saying here? People from abroad are not coming to Toronto to watch the games? Like, how can we not have a year over year increase in reservations in Toronto with the World Cup going on? I don't understand that, Gary. So, it kind of makes sense that seats are empty. One, the tourist or the soccer fan is not coming to North America for whatever reason, being Toronto. I can't speak to Vancouver, but Toronto. And the other part is, you and I can't afford it. What if you and I wanted to go see a game there? I wanted to go see Croatia, for example. Heck, the ticket in the nosebleed section was almost $1,700. And what? And then we'll pay $500 for a hotel a night. That's a lot of buck. at the price of gas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Here's how I see it. And I know there'll probably be some hate, but oh well. I think that the time for jumping on board FIFA, the Olympics, long past. We don't need to spend that kind of money. Somebody else can host it. I think we stay away from it. We don't host anything like that because it's nothing but a money pit.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, yes, you're going to have legacy facilities left over. Well, go look at some of the legacy facilities, A, around Montreal, and B, out in Calgary. In Vancouver, I'm not sure what's left of the Olympic facilities out there. But it's not, in the long run, it's not worth it. We're throwing money that we could be putting into roads and infrastructure and railways and other things for Canadians, healthcare, standardized healthcare. We're throwing it away. Also, we can look like, oh, look at us, we're hosting the Olympics on the world stage. Who cares? When you get right down to it, what do we get from it? We get buildings that are left over that municipalities end up having to repair every year and maintain, or they just fall into decay. You have things like the Big O.
Yeah.
Originally, what? It ended up costing about $1 billion back then in the 70s, and the roof still wasn't completed. And what are we spending now? Another $1 billion to fix the roof.
Replace the roof. That never worked.
Yeah, exactly. I could go on. It makes no sense if, LA or Rome or London, they want to bid on these things. Go ahead. Good luck.
Yeah.
If we're interested, we'll fly over. We'll book a hotel room and we'll, buy some tickets. But other than that, why are we into that kind of thing? And especially when you've got an organization like FIFA, and even the Olympic organization now too, they walk away with the spoils. And we get left with, what do we do with this now? Plus a huge deficit.
Yeah, more so now than back then, even though we had a huge deficit back from the
just on the cost of security alone.
Montreal was the first hosted Olympics where the Olympics, a city lost money. So on top of the mismanagement and corruption of the city, we lost a fortune on top of that. So I would tend to agree with you. It's will Canada lose its respect among the world in terms of a fantastic country, a great country to model against if we don't do the Olympics, if we don't do the World Cup? I don't think so. I don't think so. You know what? These expositions that are held every year, which are privately funded, I think that's a fantastic way to host the tourists of the world. But I'm really not for our country pushing to host any more Olympics or any more World Cup. I think that's that time is those are bygone days and bygone years. It's just going to end up being a bigger mess and bigger headache if we do actually attempt to do something like this again.
This whole thing here this year is exposing a growing tension between global events and local realities. And the reality of it is, again, as I say, what do we get left holding? Get left holding an empty bag and a big debt.
Yeah.
For what? Really, for what?
I agree.
So, Eddie, what is our takeaway?
Our takeaway: if Canadians won't buy in, the model starts to crack.